All right, so welcome everyone to this Q&A. Again, want to welcome everyone to this Q&A. Somebody had mentioned, let me see if I find it here. One second. Oh, there was a question. A few things. One is that someone had commented that one aspect of a mitzvah is the action according to its details. Okay, that I would agree. It's how you do the action, right? That is true. The other is intention, right? Maybe we don't connect to it physically, but you have intention. Some say that's why Ruth and Messiah come from Moab, right? From a incestuous relationship. Because Moses' daughters actually thought they would save the world. Okay. Right? That may be true. So intention, there's difference of opinion whether I need intention when I do mitzvahs or not. Right? In other words, some say clear that if I don't have proper intention, forget about Kabbalah. If I don't have proper intention what I'm doing, I don't fulfill the mitzvah. Others say that I need general intention. Right? But in general, mitzvahs don't need intention. And that's how we hold. Now, why would we hold that according to Jewish law? That really mitzvahs don't need intention. So simply because the person's not on their A game 24/7. If something needs, there are certain things, let's say, there are certain things that if I don't have intention, I have to go back and do it again. Right? One example is the first line of the Shema. First line of the Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, I have to have intention. Now, what's my intention? God, there's one God. He's in charge of the world, and he rules over he knows past, present, future. Minimal intention. If I didn't have that minimal intention, I have to say it again. If a person, a Jew, says the Shemona Esrei, silent meditation, whatever you want to call it, and within the first 3 paragraphs, they space out. They have to go back and say it again. So certain things I'm obligated to have more intention. Other things, if I have general intention, right? Let's say I have general intention of what I'm doing. I fulfill my obligation. Now, Kaufman would say maybe you get a C-. Maybe you didn't do it, 100% the way you should have and whatever, but you fulfill your obligation. So it would be hard to say that for everything we do, we have to have, maximum intention what we're doing. Now, some things I can understand. You do the action, split seconds over. That I can understand. But at the end of the day, my intention over here, my minimal intention should be enough. How can it be expected every second of every day, whatever you're doing, you have to have intention? Doesn't God understand the thoughts of men? Doesn't God understand, we're preoccupied, this, that? On the other hand, think before you do something. You're going to eat something, you're going to drink something. You're going to pray something, whatever it may be. Don't you have some level of intention? Don't you have to know, at the outset, if a person makes a blessing, you have to know where that blessing is going. Meaning, if I'm going to need an apple, a peach, a pear, a plum, blessing is going to be Brei Pra'et, grows from a tree. So before I make the blessing, really at the outset, I have to know what the blessing is. If I wasn't sure what the blessing is, I said God's name, and He's in charge of the world, and I'm not sure what the blessing is, but I get the right blessing. You fulfill your obligation, right? You fulfill your obligation. Did you do the best way? No. Isn't it better to know where it's going before you actually say it? Sure. But again, we're hungry, we're thirsty, we just want to eat it, but you got to be prepared. Yeah. So if you're not sure, you go to Rabbi Dr. Google. Hopefully, Rabbi Dr. Google gives you an answer. But you know what you're doing. You have to be prepared. Can't just say God's name and then say, oh, yeah, now I got the blessing right. Now I remember what it was. But at the beginning, you didn't know what you're doing. You didn't know what the blessing's going to fall on. So you fulfill your obligation. True. But he didn't do it the optimal way. So I would say some things need more attention, some things less attention. But even so, don't we have to be prepared? Don't we have to pay attention? Don't we have to work hard? But the rabbis understood. We get preoccupied. We flake out. Mind wanders. So the intention is one thing, as someone here points out. Right? Intention is one thing. But sometimes we don't connect physically with with all the details. Okay. Now the question is that an excuse? So what if we don't connect to it? Does that mean we shouldn't work hard, try and understand what we're doing? Try and have proper intention? Right? We're not going to make excuses here. But you're right. Sometimes we disconnect. Okay. You know what God says? Doesn't matter. You still have to make that blessing. You still have to eat that matzah. You still have to whatever it is. So you have to know what you're doing. You have to know what the purpose of it is. Again, we're not talking Kabbalistic intention here. Understand what I'm doing. Right? I'll give an example. Person is praying. Now, a person can have the prayer book in front of them. They're swaying back and forth. Very good. They cannot be praying. Why do I say they may not be praying? Because they're saying the words, but their mind is elsewhere. So if their mind is elsewhere, and they're praying, and they're going through the motions, is that prayer? It's not prayer. Again, they may get a C minus or a D plus in prayer if we were giving grades. Or maybe they get an F. They're saying the words. They're absolutely saying the words. Okay. So what? So you tell me a person's trying, they're working hard, this, that, okay. But the reality is, they're not praying. Because their mind is elsewhere. Imagine if God himself would come to us and say, let's say after 120 years, a person dies. And God gives you credit, maybe for a third of the prayers you said. Let's say a third. So what's the person going to claim? Why do I get a third credit? Look at all those years I prayed. 3 times a day if you're a guy, get an obligation. Let's say. So what happens? God says, okay, you got a point. Let's go back to the video. Right? Just like a recording. Now, let's go back. Let's see what you did. Let's see what you did when you prayed. Then God plays you the video. So you're praying, I don't know, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever it may be. And maybe for a minute your mind was there. Maybe. All right, I'm in a generous mood. Give you 5 minutes. Maybe for 5 minutes your mind was where you should have been. Now imagine this going at lightning speed. God keeps playing the video over and over different times. At that point, you get the point. Too late already, but you get the point. Your mind wasn't where it was supposed to be. Comes along the famous Arizal, Rabbi's glory, blessed memory. And he says, how can it be? When a person in the middle of prayer, their mind wanders. Again, prayer is something that always needs to be strengthened. Yeah, we got to work hard at this. But let's say, according to what the Arizal says here, why does the person's mind wander? Because they open themselves up, they're a vessel to sin. If a person wouldn't sin, your mind wouldn't wander. Very simple. The reason that your mind wanders is not just because you're human. We can always use that as an excuse. But why do you get sidetracked? Because you forget what the important thing is. And the more you get sidetracked, the harder it is. And the harder to focus. Like someone once asked me, why is it so hard to sit and listen to a class when it's so much easier playing video games, if you're into video games, or watching movies, or whatever? Why is that so much easier? Because you don't have to think. It's entertaining. Right? It's fun. There's other things you got to work hard. You have to work. Say the same prayers over and over again. You feel like, what am I doing? I feel like I'm praying to a wall. Something we need to work at. So the commentators will tell us if, you lost concentration there, okay, make it up somewhere else. Don't just throw the whole thing out. Don't say, I didn't have intention, that's it. I'm finished. God will never hear my prayers, will never listen to me again, this, that. Forget it. That's the work of the evil inclination. 100% the work of the evil inclination. But God does not want you to throw out everything. You didn't have intention, you should have had intention, all these other things. Very true. And maybe sometimes I've heard this, I can't imagine, but I've heard this also. Right? And that is, going through a hard time, whatever it may be, and you say, I don't want to pray today. But things aren't going my way. I'm being squeezed. Why is God squeezing me? Why is God letting this take too much time? Why? I don't know. Fill in the blank. For as many times by conversion. Why is it taking so long? Why the rabbis don't get back to me? Why this? Why that? So someone said, because they're going to, why should I pray today? Why does God deserve my prayer today? Look what he did to me. Very good. And he didn't do anything. And a person's at the height, of spirituality, that they didn't do anything to deserve whatever's happening. 99% of anything we go through is because of the things we've done. We only have ourselves to blame. Yeah, maybe the small percentage of things we have to go through because our soul has to go through it and reincarnation and all that, okay? But everything else, we don't have anyone to blame but ourselves. There's a Ramban in the book of Job, mentioned this many times. Job's friends come and try and comfort him for things that he's going through. They tell him, he must have done something, or maybe it's your bad luck. You were born under a certain constellation, so you had to go through it that way, whatever. Comes on the Ramban, and the Ramban says, we're going to get upstairs after 120 years, after we die, and we're going to have complaints. We're going to say, God, why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? God says, I didn't do that. You did it. I just didn't stop you. Over here, I stopped you. Right? Over here, I stopped you. Here, I didn't stop you. Yeah, so you ran with it. Very good. I didn't tell you to do it. Maybe get encouraged by the evil inclination. Okay, but I didn't have to stop you every single time. So a person's going to complain, and a person's going to say, hey, why is it like that? And then you're going to blame God. Very good. God's going to say, it's not my fault. I didn't tell you to do this. I didn't tell you to be reckless. I didn't tell you to do other things. But you could have stopped me. Could have. You didn't. So there'll be things that God will say, You did to yourself. You want to get it's called in 614th commandment. Don't be stupid. Or don't be a moron, 615th commandment. You did it to yourself. That's worse. That's a lot worse. You got no one to blame but yourself. You made the mess. So now you clean it. You're responsible. God said, I helped you here, I helped you there, I helped the other thing. Yeah, I didn't help you. Right? Now you're going to complain. What are you complaining about? You did it to yourself. Oh, you say I didn't do it to myself. Someone else did it to me. Okay, very good. So we say many times that person's a stick. God's getting to you through that person for whatever reason. And some things may be pretty bad. Okay. Have to deal with them. But we're very quick to blame this person, that person, the other person. And if they cause damage, they're liable. Very good. But even if they're liable and they caused us pain and money and time and aggravation, isn't God just using them to get to you? It's hard to live by these words. But that's the truth. We're very quick to blame other people. Okay. And let's say they're guilty. Very good. So why are they in my path? Why'd they do this or do that? Even if they're guilty. What's the Chofetz say? Because God's using them to get to you. Harbi shluchim l'makom. A lot of messengers God has. So we're going to be the first to complain and say, hey, this person did this person did that. They said this, they said that. You're right. 100%. We have no idea. I mentioned this last week. I'll say it again. So many things we see right now make no sense. Make absolutely no sense. Yeah, a lot of things. So people get sad, can't understand. It's so crazy and this and that. So the Rabbi was saying, no, that's the whole point. The fact that all these things don't make sense and are not normal and go above nature, what does that tell you? We're not in control. God's running the show. So many things, whether it's health, whether it's livelihoods, whether it's both, a lot of things can happen. You don't know. You don't know. Someone will wake up one day, right? An over recent story. Person breaks out in hives, right? Got a rare skin disease. I don't know if it's fatal, but whatever, trying to get medicine to deal with it. Person should be okay, right? But, broke out with hives, some rare skin disease. Only like 100 people have it in the world, like extremely rare. Overnight. Person have any other health issues? No, not really. You don't know one day to the next, King Solomon says in Proverbs. One day to the next. But you see by other actions, clear as day, we're not in control. Clear as day. We're not in control. And God's running the show. Right? So what's the answer on a daily basis? Thank you very much. Whatever you give me. Give me air. Give me food. Take care of my needs. Yeah, but this is hard, okay? Everyone has challenges. No question, everyone has challenges. But some of the challenges come from what we ourselves have done. And that's the worst. Because then you got no one to blame. You got no one to blame. Now, even if you're going to say, the conversion process shouldn't take me so long. These rabbis should get back to me. This should happen and that should happen. Let's say none of them happen. Let's say none of them happen. Takes you a long time. You're spinning your wheels. You feel you ought to be converted. Whatever the case is. Maybe, isn't that all part of the test? I'm not saying what people that they're doing it right or whatever, right? But isn't that part of the test? Test the person's battle. How badly they want it. People are, going to be in for a rude awakening. In a lot of ways. Because they think, this person should do this person should do that. I have something coming to me. Who has anything coming to them? People have to realize, we're the ones calling the shots. Person on the outside looking in. Okay, I'm not saying things should be done in a certain way or not a certain way. And if people get delayed and pushed off and this and that, I'm not saying it's right. Depends what the circumstances. But everyone's expecting everything to be instantaneous. And for it to be instantaneous, not to your benefit. I'm not saying it has to take forever. Right? But it's not we live in a throwaway instantaneous world. Things don't happen like that when it comes to Torah. It takes time. And it's to your benefit if it takes longer. Because then you get everything right. Right? One of the reasons the Gemara says, why does convert after they convert? Why do they have so many problems? Or even more problems? Because they didn't learn what they should have first. They didn't learn properly. So it's to their detriment. Well, that's a whole other thing. But the bottom line, you got to take responsibility for what you do. And so do other people. But remember, where is it all coming from? Nothing happens for no reason. As we said, Harbe Shluchim Lamakom. There are a lot of messengers God has. And even if a person has to take, a hit in the pocket, why are they taking a hit in the pocket? Because God wants you to lose money or time or whatever. Or it's like, you don't ever build something, put something together and take you like hours when it really should have taken you like 15 minutes. Then you're sweating, putting pieces together. It fits, it doesn't fit, this, that. And it's all a test. Wealth is a test. You're going to help others if you have money. Poverty is a test. You're going to thank God for the little that you have. Goes both ways. But at the same time, a person will say, I heard Lashon Hara. Someone, it works, speaking badly against others. Why did I have to hear it? Oh, it's a good question. Why did I deserve to hear it? Good. Question now is, you're not going to figure that out probably, but the question is, okay, you heard it. What do you do now? Are you allowed to believe it? Are you allowed to guard yourself against it? You hear people cursing. So one of the things it's going to teach you is you don't speak like a truck driver, and that makes you disgusted. How can someone, speak like this and speak like that? You're going to say that's the way of the world. That's what people do. True. We're exposed to it. Question is how we deal with it. How we look at it. Does it change who we are? It's not just, why did I hear it? I get this question all the time. Why do I have to hear it? Who knows why you have to hear it? Doesn't matter why you have to hear it. The question is, what do you do with the information? That's the question. Right? Even if everybody knows it, and the person said Lashon Hara when they shouldn't have, and now you heard it. Now, if you accept it as being true, you're over prohibition of listening to Lashon Hara. If it's something you have to guard yourself against, good. So you have to guard yourself against it. Maybe warn others under certain conditions, but you're not allowed to believe it 100%. So it's not a question also. Question comes up, this happened, that happened, what's the measure for measure? You think I'm a prophet? You think people know exactly what the measure for measure is? Some things are obvious, or more obvious. Many things, we have to analyze what happened. We may figure it out, we may not figure it out. The Gemara says you got to look into it anyway. Right? I would say you probably never figure it out, maybe. Right? That's contradiction. The Gemara says you have to look into it, and that's how we hold. You got to look into the actions. It's probably based on your actions. Are you going to figure it out? This could be something 2 months ago that you did. Or 6 months ago. God's saying, okay, pay back now. Sometimes there's a pattern. Right? Probably a lot of times there's a pattern. Right? A continuous pattern of things that we do that we don't get the message. But it happens all the time. People will say, but I want to know the measure for measure. Moses himself, when he asked God to see him face to face, what does God say? No one can see my face in width. Nobody can see my face in width. God says you can only see me from the back. Meaning, what you're going through, what you see, you don't understand. You won't understand. Because God knows past, present, and future. We don't. We're missing a lot of information, so we don't know this. Right? But I would say, now again, it's interesting. People want to know that. Why they're going through it. Very good. But if Moses himself, God says, you'll never see my face and live. You'll never understand what you're going through right now. Maybe in hindsight, maybe. I'll throw you a proverbial bone. Maybe you'll get some understanding. Maybe. Yeah, but that's only in hindsight. It's never going to be when you're directly going through it. So a person say it's not fair, right? Totally not fair. Why not? Because you want to know. You want to know. So I'll tell you like this. See, there are a lot of questions there. Deal with them in a second. Let me ask you, if God opened your eyes or came to you in a vision, right? Person had some level of prophecy or divine inspiration, which is one of the lowest forms of prophecy. Yeah, let's say God said, okay, you're worried about this, you're worried about that. I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you what you did to deserve it. And then God shows you a vision. God plays you a half a minute video. And then God says, okay, because you did this, all things being equal, I had to do this, that, and the other thing. And that's how it came up. Now, I want to ask the $2 million question, because I have to ante quite a bit. I want to ask the question, if someone hears that, and God hits you right here, right between the eyes, and smacks you upside the head, let me ask the $2 million question, how happy is the person going to be to hear that? Now, some people would say, I want to hear the truth. I want to know. And it doesn't matter. How embarrassed you'll be, doesn't matter. I'm ready to take it right here, right on the chin. God, give me your best shot. Since we live in a cream puff generation, it doesn't have to hit you that hard, it just goes bink and knocks you over. I'm not so sure if somebody would hear that and everything being clear and what it was, I'm not so sure people would be so ecstatic after they heard it. Because you know what they say, curiosity killed the cat. People delve into things, too young of an age, you think they weren't ready for, affected them. But the evil inclination tried to convince them to do it. And then what happened? Ruined them in other ways. I know a number of people like this. Yeah. Curiosity killed them and killed them. Not literally, but destroyed them in other ways. They had to fight very hard against the damage that they did. Because they were curious. They wanted to know they did, but they weren't ready to handle it. So if a person's not ready to handle it, it's going to affect you in a totally negative way. Most likely. Yeah, question. Someone asked, one of the daughters of Moab wanted to seduce them. They would seduce the men in Israel, parts of Balak. No, they were the women of Midian. The women of Moab was the women of Midian. But the daughters of Lot, who Ruth came out of, right? Moab, from my father, not so, it wasn't so righteous here. Even if they did it for the right reason, right? Again, they thought there was no one left in the world. So they need to populate the world. So was the only guy around, their father. Okay. Very interesting. From all that comes King David and comes Ruth and all that. Yeah, but it was not Moab, it was Midian. It was the women of Midian. And why weren't they punished why weren't they punished? The whole place was wiped out. What do you mean, why weren't they punished? They were also punished. Why shouldn't they be punished? That wouldn't make any sense. Right, they seduced the men. Very good. It says in this week's parsha, Bilam gets killed. Right? He gets killed by the sword. Others say, hey, not only got killed by the sword, he got burned, he got stoned. Right? He got all corporal punishments. As the Gemara talks about that, we don't have today. because we don't have a temple today, for certain things. So it's brought down that even though corporal punishment doesn't exist, right? Because we don't have a temple, we don't have a Sanhedrin, to mete out this punishment, but punishment still exists. We just, we can't say this is what happened. Someone dies in a car crash. Yeah, what is skila? What is the most stringent form or hardest form of corporal punishment? Is being stoned, meaning they took a person to a 3-story building, threw him from his hips, landed probably on his head. If that didn't kill him, took a big stone, aim for the heart. You know what they say? The left one doesn't get you, the right one will. Very good. Right? So that is for desecration of Shabbos in public. That's for homosexuality. Right? Other things as well. Now, what's a car crash? Impact. Isn't stoning impact? Being thrown from a 3-story building, that's impact. Now, if someone gets killed in a car accident, couldn't a person say, hey, they probably did something that deserves stoning, similar thing? Can't say that. Anytime a person dies, obviously it's for our sins, but a person can die in different ways. A person can die in a fire. Right? That's the second most corporal punishment. Sreifa. I mean, it's not meted out the same way. Right? In time of the temple, they would open someone's mouth, put in molten lead, and burn up their insides, but okay. Yeah. So fire is the same thing. The person committed adultery, let's say. Right? That's one punishment for that. Right? If someone committed, adultery and they die in a fire. Right? Or sorry, let's say better. A person dies in a fire. Yeah, it's because they did that or did other things. We don't know. Right? We can't say. We don't know. We're not God. God knows. He knows the calculation. 100% he knows the calculation. Doesn't mean corporal punishment doesn't exist. We just can't say, oh, because he did this or did that. That's what they had it coming. I'll give a good example. Relevant example. Yeah. People will say, what happened on October 7th? There was a Buddha there, desecration of Shabbos, desecration of the festival, very good. Liable for death penalty, being spiritually cut off. Okay. Was that why it happened? Impossible. How do I know? Where does my prophetic prowess lie? Because there was already a decree made on Rosh Hashanah 2 weeks before. If there's already a decree made, now this didn't help. What they did for sure there didn't help. No question about it. But that's not the reason. It cannot be the reason. Because the decree was already made. So they had to have done other things before that. Now, someone will say, but look what they did over here. You had a Buddha there. Desecration of Shabbos, desecration of the festival. You're right. Nobody denies it. 100%. But is that the reason? Could be plenty of other reasons for it, but even so, the point is that the decree is already made on Rosh Hashanah. Still a horrific decree. No question. Right? Even if they were deserving of what they got for what they've done, it's pretty horrific. Pretty horrific to see what happened. Even to hear about what happened. It's pretty horrific. But the decree was already decreed. Right? The decree was already made. Yeah. Let me see other questions here. Something doesn't seem right, and rabbinic explanation of marrying a Moabite. What does the Torah say? Why? First of all, the Moabite men, Moab in general wouldn't allow the Jewish people to pass through. They're ungrateful. They didn't want to allow them to pass through, even the Jewish people said, we're not going to hurt anybody. We just want to go through. Right? They just wanted to go through. But they didn't show compassion. Okay. So the Torah makes a general decree. What's the general decree? We won't accept anyone from Moab to convert. Nobody. That's what it sounds like. But the decree was only made on the men, not on the women. That's where the decree was made. Otherwise, if you don't say that, Ruth can't be Jewish. Right? And Ruth has to be Jewish because if she still has the status of a Moabite, then all her kids and all future generations of Moabites, doesn't matter if King David's mother is Jewish or not, doesn't help. Right? It's a very strong gene over here, never disappears. If she's Jewish, different issue. Right? She has to be Jewish. Totally has to be, it doesn't matter. But see yourself, if she's not Jewish, then the whole line's not Jewish. Doesn't matter about King David's mother or not. So you could say, one possible explanation is the fact that, the men weren't hospitable. Could be the women wanted to be. The women would have said, fine, let them pass through. We don't have any problems. Yeah, let them pass through. What's the big deal? Well, the men come along and say, no. They're going to do this, they're going to do that. No, we don't want them coming through. But they said, we're not going to do anything. We just want to pass through. Let's go through the land. So that was being cruel. Why does it have to go all the way around China to go, why can't they go in a straight path? Because they said no. Okay. That's being cruel. Right? That's one possible explanation. I'm not saying it's the explanation. Could be 100 other explanations. Right? As well. Right? But at the end of the day, I would ask like this, others ask, not my question. Right? Ruth comes as a direct result from Moab. Moab comes from where? An incestuous relationship. Does that make any sense? That doesn't make any sense. I understand. I understand why they did it. Right? That makes sense. Right? That makes sense. But you want to tell me that's where someone's going to come, and a convert's going to be the progenitor of the Davidic line? That makes no sense. Literally makes no sense. That's why I have to say, the prophet had true prophecy and the Torah is true. Who would ever write a book like that and say your future Messiah is going to come from that relationship? Right? I highly doubt it. Yeah. Someone who says people pray very quickly, that's a problem. I would agree. Yeah, is that required to say it quickly as a woman? Is it okay? Saying it quickly without any understanding and just saying the word is not prayer. Remember, it's not prayer. Saying it by rote is also a problem. But if you say it enough, you'll be able to say it much quicker. True. You gotta, certainly for a guy, you want to keep up with the service and be able to answer certain prayers. You got to keep up. That's true. But it shouldn't go so fast. You can't keep up with anything. Then you know what you're saying, you know what you're doing. Doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman. It's irrelevant. Right? For a man, it's worse because he's going to pray 3 times a day with 10 men. Women don't have that obligation. Certainly not. Right? Listen, you can say it fast enough. It's not so hard. Person practices enough. Not so hard to say it fast. But that's not the point. A person says the verses of song, what we call Psuke de Zimra, in the morning, the Psalms 145 to 150, and the other prayers as well. So according to Jewish law, it should be said methodically, slowly, like you're counting money. You don't count money fast. Some people do, but in general, you don't count it fast, if you have any. Right? So you count it slowly. because every bill is precious. Why isn't every word precious? Doesn't mean, you're having all this intention on one word to take you 5 minutes. Not talking about that. But you're thinking about what you're doing. Saying it fast without thinking about what you're saying, it's a problem. It's a serious problem. Prayer is something, as we always say, needs to be strengthened. So people saying it fast is disservice. But again, you got to cover a certain amount of ground. People got to get to work. Whatever. True. Very true. Prayer, at least in the morning, should take a couple hours. Should. No one's got that kind of time. You got to get out. You got to get moving. You got things to do. You need a balance. Like everything, you need a balance. But by the end of the day, you got to move. So it's better to say less prayers with more intention than more prayers with no intention or no understanding. You say, I said the prayers, okay. But your mind wasn't there. You didn't know what you were doing or saying. But better to say fewer prayers, than saying more prayers that you don't know. It's okay to pray in English, then in Hebrew, which is so easy to understand, but it's transliterated. Transliterated is a problem. I think it's a problem. Other people say, starting out with a prayer book that's transliterated, if you want to be a Jew, is easier because at least you can pronounce the words. Okay. Problem is, what's going to happen when you learn how to pronounce the words properly? You know how to read Hebrew, then if you've been saying these prayers for a long time or however long, then you got to relearn them again. You're going to have to learn how to say them again. So I think it's a disservice. I think it's better to break your head, and take longer once you learn how to read Hebrew. Yeah. Other people disagree. Other people say, okay, I got something transliterated. It's easier. I want to be able to say the words. Okay. I'm saying in the long run, it might not be so beneficial. In the long run, you might have to work. You might have to retrain yourself how to read the words because you read them once. That's what I would say. But can you pray in English? Yeah. You pray in any language you understand. It's better to pray in Hebrew though, but it's going to take time. Somebody asked here 1 second. Someone points out, it seems apex of good intention came from situation with Lot and his daughters, right? To honor the spark, something good eventually comes out of it. Yeah, that's true, right? That is very true. So you have that spark there. It was done for the right intention. Okay. But the point is, even if it's done for the right intention, right? Which we understand, nonetheless, though, you're gonna tell me that's where the Jewish Messiah comes from. It's kind of hard, right? Kind of hard to understand. Someone asked, I explained that Hebrew letters have numbers. Yeah, every number was called gematria. Gematria means every letter has a corresponding number, right? An aleph is 1, Beis is 2, right? Gimel is 3, Dalet is 4, right? So there are these gematrias that fly around that this has a gematria of whatever, and this other thing has the same numerical value. So you compare them. You could compare them. Now, some of them I think are more interesting. Some of them are less interesting, right? Maybe, but in any case, it's not going to make someone religious or not religious, right? It is an interesting. I would say it's an interesting thing, right? Now, so the question is, how is math done if the letters are the numbers? Well, it's not so hard, right? If let's say, we'll use an example on Purim. If someone drinks enough, they don't know the difference between cursed be Haman and blessed be Mordechai, right? Because the numerical value of both are the same. So now, if a person drank enough, you won't be able to do the calculation. You shouldn't be able to do the calculation. If you're able to do the calculation, then you probably haven't drank enough, right? But again, that's one example, right? Blessed be Mordechai, cursed be Haman. Opposites, right? You bless Mordechai, you curse Haman, right? But the value is the same. The numerical value of those letters is the same. So you can say, hey, but I got a lot of different letters in each word, right? In each thing, in each statement, let's say. Okay. But if the letters correspond to numerical values, and you add up all the numerical values, and they come out the same, yeah. So it teaches us something, right? I'll give another example. The word tzitzis. What's the numerical value of tzitzis? You got tzadi is 90, right? Yud is 10, so that's 100. I got another tzadi is 90. Another yud is 10, right? So that's another 100, right? That is that's 200, right? It's 200 there, and I got a saf or a tav, let's say. How much is tav? Kuf rei shin tav 400. I got 400. Now, if I take the word tzitzis, and I have the numerical value of 600. Now, don't we know there are 613 commandments? Doesn't mean we can do all the commandments, yeah? But we have 613 commandments, right? So the gematria of tzitzis is 600. Where do I get the other 13? Because normally we say tzitzis reminds us of the entire Torah, right? Corresponds to the entire Torah. So where are the other 13? So commentaries say, if you look at tzitzis, I got 8 strings and 5 knots. Right? Have you ever seen tzitzis? There are 5 times you tie them. You knot them. So 5 knots, 8 strings, 8 and 5 is 13. 13 and 600 is 613. I'm saying these are interesting things. Again, it's not going to make someone religious because of them, right? But you can have values of letters, right, that have numerical values that, can teach you something very prophetic, right? Very esoteric. Does that mean, the Torah's from heaven and I got proof and I have to keep all the mitzvahs? No, but it's interesting, right? It's interesting. So why can't letters have values, numerical values, right? And a lot of these things to figure out is not that hard, right? Because we're not talking like such long sentences, or statements, right? They're relatively short. So when I view it like that and I see a bigger picture, because the numerical values are the same, very good, right? It's not a coincidence. Is it going to make someone an Orthodox Jew tomorrow? I don't think so. Right, but it is an interesting piece of evidence. Same thing by Torah codes, right? Anyone's ever heard of these numerical Torah codes? You look somewhere in the Torah, you go 7 letters, every 7 letters, you get this name, that name, you get, all kinds of things, you can see in the Torah from current events. Yeah. Now you put this algorithm, so to speak, in any other book, Chaucer, I don't know, Hemingway, whoever, Shakespeare. You put them in any other book, and you put these codes and nothing comes up. Nothing comes up. Yeah, you put these codes in the Torah. Again, from this word you take every 7 letters and you get, whatever the algorithm is. Now, this is something really interesting because it shows certain names, modern names in different places. In places you'd expect. Now, does that make someone, is that going to convince someone to keep Torah and mitzvahs? No, but it's a very good piece of evidence. Right? Ancient Torah is, famous for, bringing different proofs, of God's existence and that the Torah is true. Right? This is one explanation. This is one piece of evidence. Right? It's not all the evidence. Get other evidence also, but this is one piece of evidence. It's compelling. right? It'll make somebody think. I'm not going to convince them per se, but if you look at other evidence plus this, it can be very convincing. So here, you have current names and different things, in different parshas, going by certain numerical values. You don't have that in other books. They tried it in other books. Right? Again, is that going to make someone an ultra-Orthodox Jew? A believing Jew? No. It's a piece of evidence, though. Definitely a piece of evidence. Yeah, let me see other questions here. So each word equals something, so everything we say is an equation. Can be. Right? That can be. I'm just pointing out there are, even without a numerical value, right? Parshas Balak, we just read. Right? You got Bilam, Balak, right? Bilam, the evil prophet, evil non-Jewish prophet, Balak, the king of Midian. Right? You take the last letters of each name. Balak is Lamed Kuf. Bilam is Ayin Mem. If I put Ayin Mem Lamed Kuf, you know what I get? Amalek. Kind of interesting, though. So, there have been great, rabbis throughout the generations, pulled all these things out. Pulled a lot of these things out, and you see a bigger picture. Because you see the cruelty over here of what he wanted to do. And then he saw he couldn't do it, so what did he do? So instead of cursing the Jewish people, right, what does he do? So he gets them to sin with the women of Midian. Yeah, but the question is, and not my question. And the question is, if he had the power of speech, why didn't he give the blessing to Balak? If he's got that kind of power, let him praise Balak. They should be successful against the Jews. Very good. Why didn't he do that? That would have made more sense. Instead of trying to do all these things, curse the Jewish people, and every time God thwarts him and he doesn't, and whatever. Why not do that? Because the hatred of Bilam to the Jews was unbelievable. Was so strong. Why was it so strong? The beginning of the Parsha, Rashi says, they want to join forces. Why they want to join forces? They were enemies. Midian and Moab were enemies. Yeah, but they had a common enemy. Seems like everybody's got the common enemy today, and that's the Jewish people. Right? They had a common enemy. It's better join forces and try and destroy the Jewish people. Well, what did they hate so bad? Right? Now, the Jewish people can't attack. God told them they're not allowed to start up with them. Right? Not allowed to start up with them, but what are they afraid of? What are they afraid of? They're afraid of what they represent. They're afraid of the purity that they represent. And they don't speak Lashon Hara, and they're modest. Right? And they dress modestly, and they do other good things. Right? And they have morals. Right? They can't stand that. Secular Jews, why do they hate religious Jews so much? Especially here in Israel. Why do they hate them so much? First of all, they think, oh, I'm not Jewish enough. You think this, you think that. It's because of what they represent. What did Hitler Yamach Shemoy V'Zichro, may his name be may his name be blotted out wherever he is. Didn't he say they brought morality to the world? They brought morality to the world. You don't want to hear anything about morality. Morality? It's Rabbi. They don't believe in morality, they don't believe in supernatural, they don't believe in anything. But there's a hatred of what they represent. Remember, even in Israel, holiest place in the world, you got people devil worship. It's kind of hard to believe, right? But where you have the greatest amount of holiness, you have the greatest amount of impurity as well. Both forces going hand in hand, right? But why do the secular hate the religious so much? They don't know anything about the religion. Why do they hate them so much? It's what they represent. It's the purity that they represent. It's the morality that they represent. They don't want to hear about morality. They don't want to hear about, I got to eat this amount of matzah in this amount of time or whatever. I don't hear about bringing animal sacrifices in the next temple. They want to do what they want to do. You don't really bother with all these details. Yeah, but it's inside of them. Because either you're going to be pro or you're going to be against. There's nothing in between. There's nothing in between. Now, in the States and other places, not, I wouldn't say it's as divided like that, because, most people don't care. You want to do more? Fine. Just don't tell me what to do. They don't care either way in many ways, except they don't want to be, they don't want to be classified as, as second-class citizens or non-Jews or whatever. Okay. Right. In Israel, the motto is the synagogue I do not pray in is Orthodox. They know what the truth is. They know what the truth is. They don't want to hear about it. They don't want to hear I have to take responsibility for my actions. They don't want to hear they have to, only eat kosher, only do these other things. They don't want to hear that. Not interested in hearing that. So they're going to make fun of it. They have to scoff at it. They have to, all kinds of things. They don't have anything to do with it. They're passionate about it. They don't want to do anything, they don't have anything to do with it. But, how many of them have really met Orthodox Jews? It's a whole discussion of itself. But, the point is, why is there such hatred inside? Because what does the secular Jew say? Oh, you don't think I'm Jewish? Is your mother Jewish? Then you're Jewish. Well, you just don't think I'm Jewish enough. You think, doesn't matter what I think. Is Torah true? It's not true. The reward and punishment is no reward and punishment. Got to take responsibility for my actions or not. What am I doing here? What's my purpose? Why did so many, there's so much persecution in Europe, when they got to America, they came to Israel, they weren't having anything to do with Torah. They didn't want to have anything to do with Torah. Why not? Could be the way it was presented. Could be that's one of the possibilities. They wanted to go away from this, they don't want to be persecuted. They want to be persecuted. So they wanted to be like everybody else. Because they saw being a Jew was a stigma. It's a huge stigma. Oh, you can't learn this and you can't do that and you can't do the other thing. Right? It's very restrictive lifestyle. We want to be freer. We want to, I don't know, want to go to ball games, go to the gymnasium, read Harry Potter. I don't know. We want to do all these things. Why should I be limited? I'm only here once, hopefully. We're not here that long in this world. Let me enjoy life. This is enjoying life. Now you can tell me why is it not enjoying life? What they experience, whatever. Okay, it's a whole nother discussion. That's a whole nother discussion. But the point is that they have this inner hatred. You don't have to do anything. I can walk down the street as an Orthodox Jew and they'll like scoff or say something, or some will, some won't. Doesn't really matter, right? But if you don't say anything, you act in the proper way. Why would they do that? Because they feel inferior. They feel you're judging them. Not judging anybody. You want to keep Torah mitzvahs? Good. You don't? Okay. It's your choice. But Torah says there'll be payback. Oh, I don't want to hear that. That's your interpretation. That's what the rabbis say. I don't want to listen to the Torah. Okay. Right? People get heated. People get heated. You didn't do anything. You didn't do anything. I remember I was on a fundraising trip in the States. I was in an airport and all these Israelis, traveling different places. Whatever. I was waiting. I was waiting there, and a few people just like opened their mouth. I didn't say anything. Like, why do you Orthodox Jews don't do the army? I didn't open my mouth. It's like, what am I, target practice? I didn't say anything. So quick on my feet, I said, really? I said, you're looking for an Orthodox Jew just to have this conversation? You had trouble sleeping at night? I said, the first Orthodox Jew I see, I'm going to hammer him with that question. I'm not answering the question, but right? That's what you're going to do. And this woman, this guy's like, yeah, just leave him alone. Come on. What do you like? You start showing me their kosher foods, where they're going and what they're doing. They wanted acceptance. They want to say, see, I'm just as Jewish. But they're first there to criticize. Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Why don't you do that? Now, some things they have good claims. Yeah. I had somebody that grew up in Israel, moved to the States, and had a whole bunch of questions that were bothering them. Right? One of them was why Orthodox Jews don't do the army. Second was about Naturi Karta, right? You got these seemingly looking ultra-Orthodox Jews that like kiss up to Arafat and hate the state of Israel and and all that, but are like pro-Arab, which doesn't make any sense. And about shawl women. Women, for extra modesty, will wear a shawl over them. So almost like a burqa. Almost like a burqa. I'm like, these are the questions you have? These are the most pressing questions in Judaism you have? The army, I understand. Okay, it's a big issue. Okay. Yeah, Notori Karta, no one in the ultra Orthodox community holds to them. Bunch of wackos. Nobody holds to them. And the women, these shawl women, same thing. Right? It's a fringe element. The fringe element. So 2 out of the 3 questions you chuck in the garbage. That's what's bothering you? You have trouble sleeping at night? That's what you want to hammer me with? Come on. They're irrelevant in the bigger scheme of things. Totally irrelevant. Another question like, why do women have to shave their heads? Who says they have to shave their heads? It's only a certain group. It's only a very small percentage. Women, when they're married, have to shave their heads. Okay? It's not the majority, right? But what are they? They're just picking at things. Oh, that's the most stupidest thing I ever heard. That's the most stupidest thing I ever heard. Yeah. But 3 out of these 4 things I mentioned are not issues at all. If you want to be part of that sect, that's what they do. Okay. See, so a woman gets married, shave her head. Okay. Kojak. Right? Anyway, that's important. That's what Judaism is based on. No, they want to make fun and say, see, this is so stupid. It doesn't make sense. Women have to shave their heads. They're subservient to their husbands. Blah, 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 blah. I'm done. I don't have to do anything. Very convenient. These aren't issues. Like where I go learn people I speak to and this and that. You think anyone brings up these topics? Nobody brings up these topics. They're relevant topics. Totally relevant topics. Like I said, 3 out of 4. The one in the army is okay. The more volatile topic. Okay. Yeah, the other 3, totally irrelevant. All right. Somebody here says, so is that everything we say is something created, or am I getting into areas I keep seeing these articles and books? Keep in mind what I do, what a person does, the repercussions for what you do can be good or bad, or somewhere in between. Our words have power. Even if we don't think they're going to affect somebody, they have power. Our actions have power. Yeah. They can be judged in this world and in the next world. It can be a spiritual act, a physical act, which has spiritual repercussions, right? A person is somebody is intimate with someone they're not allowed to be. They have a child. Child's a mom's, right? Call a bastard child. That's how they translate it. But it's a forbidden relationship that a child is born. Is a child's fault? Nope. A child can only marry someone of that union or a convert because there's a problem with the pedigree. So you can't have married a Jew. So a convert has also a problem with their pedigree, right? Because they were born not Jewish, right? Or whatever. So they also have an issue without going into that. They also have an issue. Okay. But there are repercussions. It's not the child's fault, but there are repercussions. So I can understand that, right? We'll make it a little more graphic. A woman is pregnant, smokes crack, and her kid comes out deformed. It's the kid's fault? Can't be the kid's fault, not even according to Torah. Why? Because that kid's not going to get punished. He's not punishable age. Punishable age is 12 in a day for a woman, 13 in a day for a man, or up until the age of 20. So it's not punishment, but the repercussions. So the repercussions for what we do, for what we say, how we act, plenty of repercussions, right? I mean, yeah, you're right. This is a very deep concept. Read the book Derech Hashem, The Way of God. These are very deep concepts, right? The action of what I do and what I say and how it's manifested in the physical world and the spiritual, right? The Ramchal there speaks about it. He speaks about it, but yeah, it's a deep thing. So we should care. At the very least, we should care what we say and what we do. 100%. 100% we should care. right? No question. And the repercussions could be absolutely catastrophic. We may not see it. Maybe we do see it, right? Maybe we'll see what we've done. But yeah, I'll give one example. I'll give one other example. Yeah, I read this book, Made in Heaven. Well, I can't say I read it. I read the introduction. It was the introduction to a book about marriage by Vari Kaplan, a blessed memory. So in the beginning, he says in the introduction, he says, you're going to get married. This decision doesn't just affect you. It affects your spouse. It affects your future kids, your future grandkids. I'm like, who, me? Bam, slam the book shut. But isn't that true? Aren't there ramifications for all future generations? We don't think about it. But aren't there ramifications? Absolutely. Yeah, who we marry or who we didn't marry or whatever. Or say we married the right person and then we messed it up or whatever. Yeah. Tremendous repercussion. Right? Take it one step further. Let's say 60% of all Jews intermarry. So that means if a person's half a soul, they have to meet their other half. Who's their other half should be a Jew. Now, what happens when they marry a non-Jew? What happens to that other half of the soul? That's the matrix. That's exactly the matrix. Now God has to, work it out in a different way. Totally different way now. But that's only one. That's only one person who does it. If it's done 60 out of 100 times, how many supercomputers do you need to track it? It gets pretty complex. Think about it. It's repercussions. Serious repercussions. Most people don't think about it. They know you'll just say you have to marry a Jew, and the Torah says you have to marry a Jew. There's good reason, but it messes up a lot of things. All future children were supposed to come out of that person and their spouse. Now they're not marrying that spouse. So what about all those future souls? How do they come out? And you need all the souls to come out before King David can come, right? The Messiah can come. It's complex. Very, very complex. Someone here says, I'm not understanding why God made defiance against him. Why not? Well, what's not to understand? Don't we have free will? We have free will. If we were robots, God's got plenty of robots in the world, doesn't he? Plants, animals, stars, the moon. They don't have independent power. As we mentioned many times. They don't have independent power. Don't we have the ability to be defiant? 100%. Right? 100%. Right? Now, the ones who go now, Rav Shulei Diskin, blessed memory, who was the Rav of Brisk, became the rabbi in Jerusalem at the end of his life, said, I can't understand how anyone could sin. I can't understand. If the Torah wouldn't tell me they're evil people, I would never understand how someone could go against the Creator. Exactly this thing. Right? Exactly this thing. Now, if I would have been alive at that time, I would have said, what are you talking about? Look at all these people. All these people, they don't know nothing about nothing. Yeah. Now, technically, they're considered evil against God, even if they don't know anything. Okay. Different levels. Fine. Someone could really be angry at God? Huh. They grew up in a messed up house. They got abused. Other things. Couldn't they have a real claim? And then just say, well, that's what you're going to do to me. This is what I'm going to do to you. Okay. That's their choice. 100%. That's their choice. They'll say, I got the raw end of the deal. I didn't sign up for this. And if I want to believe in God, you're making it very hard for me to believe in you. Because look at all the damage you've caused me and all this. Good. Person have a right to do that. It's their choice. It's a hard choice, but it's their choice. So, yeah, people struggle in this and that. Shouldn't we have compassion? Yeah. We should have compassion. You can't let them do whatever they want either. Yeah. Even the people that fought against secular Jews and, had protests and this and that, they made sure beyond the shadow of a doubt, like Parshas Pinchas, last week's Parsha, zealotry for the sake of heaven, real zealotry. It wasn't a hatred of the person. It was a hatred of what they did. They had to fight against what they did. But these are the most compassionate people in the world. If they knew someone is in trouble, they're not going to ask the question who they are, this and that. They'll help them if they can. It's a whole different thing. They had tremendous compassion. We should have compassion for them. But if they're going to try and make us go against religion and do other things, you're going to stand up against them. It's terribly sad. I hear about it all the time. And occasionally I have to see it. It's sad. What are you going to do? People say they feel sorry for me. Just the opposite. I feel tremendous sorrow for them. They have nothing. They have zero. What do they do all day? They have no life. Right? Again, even if they're rebelling against God at their level, whatever it is, even if they don't know, we should have compassion. Should try and draw them closer. But if they want us to go against religion, do other things, you got to fight against them. It's their rebellion. That's what it is, essentially. Right? But my Rabbi would say today that's not the case. Even though he says, you're right, it's called a rebellion. Why are people doing what they're doing today and going against God? It's all because of desire. That's it. It's desire. Not spitting in God's face, spit in God's face. They wouldn't even know how. Right? They don't know the owl face. They don't know anything. They're just doing according to what desire tells them to do. That's it. They say, you have this restricted lifestyle. I can do whatever I want. And I'm more miserable than you. Right? Kills you, doesn't it? I told someone this many years ago. Doesn't make sense to them. You have this restricted lifestyle. Why am I so miserable? I understand why you're so miserable. Because you have no meaning in life. Where's the meaning? You have nothing. Right? Yeah, we should have compassion for them. But if they're going to try and do things to go against religion and make us try and do other things, no, we don't have compassion for them. Again, having compassion means you hate the idea, not the person. Right? Not I would say also, take it one step further. People are doing what they're doing, they should be ashamed of themselves. Advocating what they're advocating and everything else. They should be. But they don't care. It's sad. So we have to make a stand. We have to say this is unacceptable. This behavior is unacceptable. I mean, anyone see I just heard about it, but the opening thing of the Olympic Games. I mean, they had all these drag queens or whatever. I mean, kind of horrific. You think about it. There's people doing what they want to do, whatever. Mocking the Last Supper or whatever. Okay, I don't care about that. Right? Just the whole thing is it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. They're not embarrassed to walk around like that. Parade around, to this, that. Imagine if all deviant groups would do this. All, what do you call it? All women abusers, all wife abusers. Yeah. They protest, they have all these flags, whatever, go all over the world, and have all these parades, molesters, thieves, murderers. Yeah. You got these people, bragging about what they're doing. You've never heard such a thing. Never heard such a thing. But why are they doing it? First of all, they have a very powerful block. But why are they doing it? Because they want acceptance. How are they going to get acceptance? They're going to ram it down your throat. That's how they're going to get it. But, are they ashamed of it? No, they should be. If you don't agree with them, that's a whole nother thing. Right? Can you explain the fundamental differences between Orthodox and non-Orthodox very quickly? In the non-Orthodox world, they're definitely going to dress differently. They're going to dress differently. They're going to look at the state of Israel differently, and they're going to say that living in the secular world has a purpose. We'll say you got to live in the secular world because you have no choice. Or whatever you're going to do to make money, that's what you have to do, but not an end of itself. That's all different. We're not interested in secular culture. We're not interested in being part of secular culture, per se. They don't have a problem with it. If you would ask all the more Orthodox Jews today, is it okay to go to a ball game? Everyone will say not a problem. Go to a movie, not a problem, right? As long as, it's not so bad, with immorality and other things, and language. Okay, that's a major difference. By us, what's the most important thing? Forget about dress and everything else. It's learning Torah. That's the most important thing. By them, it's also important. But you know what? You can be a good doctor, lawyer, this, that. Almost as equal importance. Not true. If you're going to be that, very good. You still have to find times to learn, right? But I speak about it much more in looking for a community. Go on my YouTube channel, looking for a community. I address it there. Why does Orthodox Judaism reject conservative Judaism? Because they don't believe in God the way we do. They don't believe that God gave the Torah. It's like a lot of them believe that it was like a committee or whatever. Or maybe they were divinely inspired, but they don't believe God gave the Torah, and they approve mitzvahs. They just say, this mitzvah you don't have to do, this mitzvah if you want to do it, you don't want to do it. They once were part of Jewish law, and they were Orthodox rabbis who started and want to make it a more modern, make it, Judaism for the 21st century. Bring Judaism in the 21st century. Eventually they became they threw Jewish law out. So they're no different. They're no different than the Reform movement, just the Reform movement started out different. Reform movement, their whole goal was to uproot Torah. The conservative movement, that wasn't their goal. They don't want to uproot Torah. They wanted to acclimate it to Torah. Acclimate the secular world to Torah. Or Torah to the secular world, let's say better. That's what they want to do. And that's been a disaster. So even if you want to tell me, at one point they were halachic, they've gone off the rails, totally off the rails. Gay rabbis, transgender, all kinds of things. Gotten rid of mitzvahs they just felt like getting rid of. That's not Torah anymore, right? So why would we accept them? Also watch my video, the whole rant on why Reform and conservative conversions are bogus, right? That's also my YouTube at Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism. That's pretty funny. Someone took me to task. Why does he keep yelling? Why does he keep yelling? He's got a gripe. Why does he keep yelling? All right, so turn the volume down. Yeah. All right, I'm going to run in a minute here. They ought to give away things, let's say, as minimalist or from other cultures. Yeah, could be. Right? Americans collect a lot of things. We don't, a lot of times, we just have a whole collection of stuff we should get rid of. But of course, not to get rid of stuff to, to live a minimalist lifestyle. No. Right? But I think we have a lot of stuff we don't need. Person, should live within their means, etc. But use it in the right way. Definitely use it in the right way. But I would say, we're not a generation going to just live with salt and bread. That's not this generation. They have to know within reason. It's a whole bigger discussion. I've spoken about it a lot of times, but it's we're not living that lifestyle. There are some people today that live, that could live that. Most people, I'm not saying you have to go to the other extreme, but most people are not going to be able to, live that way. And we shouldn't. We won't be able to anyway. The failure you have is not holding on the same level of observance. Oh, do you allow them to grow at their own pace? Yes. You can guide them. You can try and guide them, but if they're not going at the same pace, so they have to be ready to go to their own pace. Right? We can't force them, right, so to speak. But if you can give guidance, good. If not, send them someone who gives them guidance. But if they're not going at the same pace, that's okay. Right? That's okay. Right? Because eventually they have to get to the right place anyway, either staying as a non-Jew or conversion. But at some point they have to get to the same place. But some people take longer to get there than others. Isn't social media just a big bucket of Lashon Hara? Yes. 100%. People say, why are you on social media? It's a good question. Right? People say you can't be on the internet, but it's business. Okay, I'll cut you some slack. No, but yeah, it's a big problem. It's a big problem. Yeah, social media probably one of the biggest wastes of time. No question. No question. Do I know how many people hate the prime minister? Yes. I know people speak Lashon Hara? Yes. Pretty amazing. Right? Remember one thing, God's the one in charge. Right? But yeah. Listen, Netanyahu spoke in America and there was a whole protest outside, which, we made fun of. So, you're going to have that. You're going to have that. As people have said, in Israel, it's like you're a prime minister of like 3 million or 6 million prime ministers. Just like prime minister over the people. Everyone thinks they get just as important opinions you do, right? And and you're the one in government. So yeah, plenty of people hate him. Okay, right? I'm not a big fan of him either, but the left is worse. So it's a question of who's bad and who's worse. That's the only difference. They're all bad. You think he's any lover of Orthodox Jews? No. He might align more with them, but he's not a lover of them by any stretch. Right? He uses them. They use him. He uses them. Right? But if he had the ability, he wouldn't rely on them. He wouldn't have anything to do with them. He doesn't want to. Yeah. None of them do. So that's why I have this clash anyway. Yeah, I'm gonna have to stop here. Someone asked, okay, to listen to prayers while I'm driving. Yeah, you could do that. You could do that, but obviously better be in a place where you're not going to be more distracted, right? If you're going to hear prayers. Someone said, yeah, they heard about it also with the. That's crazy. Yeah, reenactment of Greece with women athletes. I hope they're all women. Also, whatever, crazy thing. Anyway, all right, I'm probably gonna stop here. Is there anything else? Archer Mono is building a mikvah. Yeah, okay. Jews should pray for him. We need to pray for a lot of people. Yeah. Listen, he's part of the Erev also, part of the mixed multitude. So Gra says, Vilna Gaon says that the only way the Messiah can come is the mixed multitude gets knocked off. Right? He's also part of the mixed multitude, right? Anyone who's in charge of any Jewish institution, secular that goes against God, they're all part of this. Right? They're no better. He's no better. Maybe again, he aligns better with Orthodox Jews because that's who his block is or whatever. But like, he's no lover. He is definitely no lover of Orthodox Jews. If he had his way, if he could, he'd throw us all under the bus. Not a question. If he didn't have to rely on us, he wouldn't. So he's no better. They're both bad. The left is worse. The left 100% is worse, but the right's no better. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna stop here. I do this every Tuesday and Thursday at 10 o'clock Eastern Time, 5 o'clock Israel Time. Anyone has any questions, feel free. Find me on Facebook at Chaim Kaufman, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism, orthodoxconversion.com, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism on YouTube. There I got videos on Q&As, ethics of our fathers, book of Leviticus, Pirkei Avos, etc. You want to send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman at gmail.com, RBBICHIMCOFFMAN at gmail.com, which I'm good. Beginning day, middle